Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Wednesday, the 11th of December, 2024. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the market. The S&P ASX 200 ended down 0.5% today to 8,354 points. It's kind of a quiet day on the market. The tech stocks were among the worst performers. WiseTech Global was off 3%. The real estate investment trusts were among the best. Goodman jumped nearly 2%. The big miners were mixed. Banks were lower. Wesfarmers rose 1%. But most of the action, I reckon, was offshore, particularly coffee prices. They continue to run, with Arabica beans now at their highest level since records began in 1972, beating the previous all-time high back in 1977. Prices of Arabica beans are up 80% this year after poor weather conditions in the world's largest producer, Brazil, hampered crops not just this year, but also next year. Nescafe, the world's biggest buyer, is upping prices, and your barista could too. Just before we leave the commodity markets, Brent crude's trading around $73 a barrel. Gold's up towards $2,700 an ounce. In fact, in Aussie dollars, because the Aussie dollar is quite weak, about 63.5 cents, gold is close to a record high. Story number 2, business sentiment fell last month after a short-lived spike, but inflation pressures in the economy look to be easing. The National Australia Bank Business Survey shows business sentiment tumbled in November, although conditions remain resilient, albeit heading lower. Forward-looking indicators in the survey, forward orders, for example, remain quite weak. NAB's employment index is also trending lower, which suggests less jobs growth in coming months. And the NAB survey of prices, which is a great guide to inflationary pressures, continue to trend lower. Bottom line from the National Australia Bank survey, the economy is slowing, inflation continues to head lower. Story number 3, New South Wales Premier Chris Minns has called an anti-Semitic attack in Woollahra in Sydney disgraceful and disgusting, as politicians from across the country join to condemn the action. The apparent anti-Semitic slogans were graffitied across 2 buildings, and a car was set alight in Sydney's east this morning. It follows the firebombing of a Jewish synagogue last week in Melbourne, and it's the second attack in Woollahra, home to many Jewish people, in the last month. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said there's no place for anti-Semitism in Australia and said these attacks must stop. Story number 4, the chief executive of DAZN has been in Australia this week as the British global sports streaming platform, backed by billionaire businessman Len Blavatnik, assesses a bid for News Corporation's Foxtel. Shay Segev, who previously led London-listed sports betting giant Entain, has been holding meetings in Australia as the company considers whether to make an offer for Foxtel, according to a report in the AFR. Foxtel operates its pay television business as well as streaming platforms at Kayo Sports and Binge. DAZN has acquired broadcasting businesses over the past 2 years as it attempts to build a major sports streaming platform. Foxtel is 65% owned by News Corp, 35% owned by Telstra. It's been up for sale since August. And finally, story number 5, Australia has a new life insurance brand, Ascender, after the merger of MLC Life Insurance and Resolution Life. Now, this all came as a result of Nippon Life Insurance, which owns 80% of MLC, buying the London-based Resolution Life Group. That means the Aussie subsidiary of Resolution Life goes to Nippon. The owner of the 20% of MLC that Nippon doesn't own is National Australia Bank. It's happy to sell that to Nippon for about $500 million. The combined business, to be known as Ascender, will have around 2 million customers and $30 billion of assets under management. Life insurance is big business in Australia. The sale by National Australia Bank ends decades of involvement in the life insurance business by Australia's big 4 banks, with ANZ, Commonwealth Bank and Westpac all selling their life businesses during the past 4 years or so. That's it for the afternoon report for Wednesday, the 11th of December, 2024. Make sure you hit follow on the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow morning with your Thursday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.